And I want to say this to you as well, that if you are one of those folks who are struggling with figuring out your dreams, figuring out what's important to you, the desires of your heart, I want to say this to you today, that you are worth it, that you can dream, and that there is something to those dreams, okay? Hey guys, it is me, Sonya from Sonya W Coaching, and I am super excited for today because this is the first month that I can say that I am a published author and a life alignment coach. I think that's kind of cool. But that's not what today's video is going to be about. It is going to be about what I use to help with coaching and how that can help people live life intentionally. So let's get into it, all right? So also, I got like this new setup. I don't know if I like it. My computer is right here. So pray it doesn't fall because I got some notes here. I didn't want to forget them, all right? So anyway, let me get into this. First of all, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but I always start the videos out the same way. I may have some crazy things that I say in the beginning, but then I'm always gonna say, hey guys, my name is Sonya from Sonya W Coaching, where we help overwhelmed, multi-passionate women learn how to acknowledge, live, execute, and win their dreams. We're all about making dreams meet reality here at Sonya W. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but I do that every single time. And that's because those are the 4 pillars by which I help coach everyone that is a part of what I do. So I wanted to actually break that down because this month, because I think it's so key to living intentionally. When you do these 4 things and you continue to do them, I kind of like to call it the stairwell to intentional living. Then you begin to see your dreams actually come true. And it's kind of cool because this book that I have back here is part of me actually following the steps that I teach. So let's get into it. Let me go ahead and intro for real now. Hey guys, my name is Sonya of Sonya W Coaching, where we help overwhelmed, multi-passionate women learn how to acknowledge, live, execute, and win their dreams. We truly are all about making sure that your dreams meet reality here at Sonya W. So let me get into this whole thing. I was kind of like thinking about what I was going to do in July, and I actually was like, you know what, let me make this a reintroduction to what Sonya W is all about. And I wanted to start with really the 4 basics, the 4 things that I hold dear and hold on to as I help people really begin to live life intentionally. And I was thinking, well, maybe if I break these down, this can really help some people who may not have had my services, may not have seen me before, but I really hope that this will be helpful for you, okay? So let me get into it. I believe that to have an intentional life, we have to walk through these 4 different areas: acknowledgement, living, look at me blanking out, acknowledgement, living, executing, and winning. I believe that as we continue to do those things and honestly do them over and over again in different aspects of your life, we begin to see our dreams come true. We begin to live the life that honestly I believe God intended us to live, because we are basing what we do in those 4 areas. And I came to this kind of like reading through the Bible, and one of my favorite, I have a lot of verses that are my favorite. So I probably should not just say one of my favorite verses, because I mean, look, the Bible is my favorite. How about that? But the verse that I think really encompasses this idea of moving forward and going up this stairwell of intentional living is 2 Corinthians 3:18. And let me read it. I'm reading it in the Amplified version, okay? It says, "And we all with unveiled face, continually seeing as in a mirror the glory of the Lord, are progressively being transformed into his image from one degree of glory to even more glory, which comes from the Lord who is the Spirit." And I think this really encompasses, one, what we should be doing if we are Christians, and I am Christian. And honestly, what anybody can do, I believe that anybody here who is still here on this earth has something amazing to do built inside of them. And when you live intentionally, when you move from glory to glory to glory, you get closer and closer to the exact thing that you were made to do here on this earth, right? And also, if you believe in God with me, we become closer to who God is. The Bible, he talks about that we, with unveiled face, continually becoming the mirror of God. So literally, like, when we are intentional about our living, then we become more and more like the good, gracious, justice-seeking God that we serve, right? So I think that is so key to any part of your life. And I broke it down in these 4 areas: acknowledgement, living, execution, and winning, because I think that those are the 4 pillars that we can stand on to keep walking, or the 4 stair steps that you keep walking as you grow in your life and as you get closer and closer to truly living your life intentionally. Okay, so let me get down into it. I'm not going to talk about all 4 of them today, but my focus today is going to be actually that first one, the acknowledgement one, the one that's kind of like the basis, right? If you think about a stair step, that first rung, that first thing that you stand on, and it's kind of like the base for the stairwells, and that is acknowledgement. Acknowledging that you have a dream, and acknowledging that your dream is worth dreaming for, worth putting together, worth actually sitting down and writing it out, okay? And I wanted to actually kind of tie in this whole thing of me becoming an author with this acknowledgement piece. I talked about it in a live on my Instagram a few days ago, where I wanted to kind of talk about the journey to actually writing this book. And I think this really fits well with the whole idea of acknowledgement, or acknowledging our dreams, okay? So let me kind of break it down some more for you. I think with acknowledgement, there are 2 main things that we have to do, right? We have to acknowledge that we are worth it, that we actually can dream, that we have something worth dreaming for. And I think that's the main thing that we got to get solid in our own hearts, right? That there is a place, there's a thing in us that is worth the biggest dreams, the biggest ideas, all of that. And I think particularly with folks who love to do a lot of different things, who have a lot of different passions, it can be kind of hard to dream because you're good at a lot of different things, and people pull on you for so many different things. So sometimes there isn't even room for you to actually dream. Well, what is it that I actually want to do? What is it that I really have a desire to do? I think that a lot of us who are multi-passionate and honestly can do a lot of things well, it's kind of hard to sit down and actually think about, well, what is it that I want to do? And I would say even with writing this book and starting this business and all those different things, it took me acknowledging that to get me to this place, to get me to the ability to actually talk about helping people get to their dreams and actually coach and do all that kind of stuff. I had to take a moment and acknowledge that my personal dreams, the things that I desire, the ultimate, like, greatest ideas that I can have are worth dreaming and are worth acknowledging. And I want to say this to you as well, that if you are one of those folks who are struggling with figuring out your dreams, figuring out what's important to you, the desires of your heart, I want to say this to you today, that you are worth it, that you can dream, and that there is something to those dreams, okay? So I think a couple of things that kind of make it hard to actually acknowledge that is that, one, we sometimes think that we're not worth it. And we think that, the things that people have said about us or said to us kind of discourage us from actually moving forward into the things that we desire. I would say, even like for me, getting to this point of being able to speak and being able to write and all this stuff, I had to get rid of those lies. One thing that I actually struggled with a lot, and honestly sometimes still struggle with, is my writing. It's so funny that I used to blog regularly, but now I do more of this vlogging thing, and I write in my email list every week. And one thing that I actually struggled with was that, do I have the ability to write? Because early on in my career, a boss of mine said, always used to harp on my scientific writing. I am a health statistician, and used to say that I'm not good at that, and used to always rate me pretty low because of my writing. And that was a lie that I began to internalize. And honestly, to this day, I still struggle with it. And it made me stop writing for a while. But then I had to acknowledge, no, God has placed a word inside of me that I am able to write. I have the skills that I need to be able to write scientific papers, and then also devotionals and books and all those different things, right? I had to break down that lie with the truth. The fact that the Lord has given me a word for those who are hurting in this season, right? That's a verse. That He has placed wisdom and kindness on my tongue. Like, I have those things because that is what God has given me. So I had to replace the lie that people said about me and said about my ability with the truth. Okay? So that's the first thing that we got to do, is that we got to acknowledge the truth that is within us, the truth that comes from God's word. We have to acknowledge that we are worth it. And then it's time to actually acknowledge your dream. Acknowledge that your dream is worth actually acknowledging. Not like that. Let me rephrase it. Your dream is truly worth acknowledging. And that is the next step in acknowledgement. Actually understanding that, yes, your dreams, those things that you desire to do, are worth dreaming and worth writing down. One thing that I always like to tell people to do is, it's your chance to rewrite your own story. I love Proverbs 3:15 through 18. I'm going to read that real quick and kind of talk a little bit about that. Proverbs 3:15 through 18, and this is in the Amplified too. I actually kind of really like the Amplified sometimes. But anyway, for wisdom's profit is better than the profit of silver, and her gain is better than fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and nothing you can wish for compares with her in value. Long life is in her right hand, and in her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are highways of pleasantness and favor, and all of her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her, and happy, blessed, considered, fortunate to be admired is everyone who holds her tightly. So it's so funny. Like, I read that verse because it's more about my verse. That's about me, but that could be about you as well. And I remember kind of thinking about, well, do I have any wisdom? Do I have any ability to help others, right? And this was one of the verses that kind of pushed me on that path of understanding that I actually can dream, and that I am worth dreaming for. What's funny is that my name is Sonia, and it actually means wisdom. And years ago, reading these verses, the Lord laid on my heart that I do have wisdom. I do have the ability to help others with my wisdom, that my pathways are peace, that whenever I am around, there is peace. Whenever I am walking in my own purposes and walking in how God made me, then I am surrounded by peace. So even in that, I took the lies that the enemy told me about the fact that I I can't write, or I don't have any wisdom, or I'm not that good, or all of those things. I took that and I learned from the Word of God the truth of who I am. So I encourage you, if you are a Christian, you already know the Bible got all the good stuff in it. But I encourage you to take a moment and look through and look for the lies that you believed about yourself. What's that dream inside of your heart that caused you, that people kind of shunned you away from, that people told you, oh no, you can't do that, right? Begin to think about the truth of the truth that you should be standing in. For me, I stand in the truth of God's word, because there's so much good in there. And I encourage you to do the same, honestly. But that, I think, is so major to do. It's so key to acknowledge that, one, you are worth it. And your dreams are worth it. Your dreams are worth writing down. So honestly, how do you do that, right? How do you even begin to acknowledge those things and begin to actually sit down and write them out? And I believe that there are 6 main areas of a person's life that you can acknowledge your dreams in, acknowledge your desires in, and begin to see yourself truly living life intentionally with that. And I call those your life principles. I'm actually going to talk in detail about them in the living video, which will be the next video that we do. But those 6 areas are your relationship with God, your relationship with self or your health, your relationship with your mind, relationship with family, friends, and finances. Those 6 main areas are the areas in which you have to acknowledge the ultimate desires, the ultimate goals. And when you understand and acknowledge those things that you desire for them, it helps you start to chart your way through and to intentional living. When you have that basis, when you know what's the ultimate goal for your relationship with God, what's the ultimate goal for your relationship with your health, with your family, your friends, your mind. I think I missed your mind. Then you have a basis or a ground floor to start on. So it's so important that when you're acknowledging your dreams, that you're acknowledging those 6 areas, those 6 things in your life. And that's honestly the beginning of a life plan. A life plan is and I talk about this actually in earlier videos. I might redo some of those videos. We'll see. But in the earlier video, I do talk about life planning a little bit and your life principles a little bit. And I'll go deeper into it this next coming video. But when you have that basis, when you have the ultimate things like, oh my gosh, if I could do anything, if money wasn't an issue, if resources weren't an issue, what would my ultimate desire be in these areas? Then you have that basis to stand on. And you know what? Just kind of talking through this is actually the work that I had to do to get to the point where I was able to write this book. I actually wanted to be an author for a really long time. And it wasn't until this past Christmas season that I decided to do something more about it than otherwise just acknowledging it. And I think I even had to struggle with this whole idea of acknowledging this dream. I was thinking about the whole journey through writing this book. You know, I honestly probably could have had this book written and published in probably April. But there was literally this tug of war of really believing that I was worth it and that it was something that I can do to get to this point. So even me, who is that coach that does all of those things, that does all these things and helps other people with this, struggles with it for herself. And that's why I say it's a stairwell to intentional living. I've done the basic work to acknowledge, to live, to execute, to win my dreams. But there are still dreams that I have yet to see. And it's because there's still more of my desires that I need to acknowledge. There's still more of my life principles that I have to build out and make clearer. It's still more of that execution and those daily routines, the winning part of intentional living that even me, I still have to work on. I have routines, I have all those plans, but this is a lifelong journey. And as you move closer and closer and closer, you're gonna see more of that life come together. Okay, so I don't know, this was just kind of like a real quick little thing talking about the importance of acknowledging your dreams, acknowledging that you are worth it, that it is worth your time and your desire to look at, well, what is it that I really desire to do? And then it is definitely worth it for you to acknowledge that you have dreams. Well, first of all, acknowledge that you have dreams, and then acknowledge that you can dream and actually write it all out. Okay, so I want you to take this time to really think through this. What are those dreams? What are those desires? And if you want something to couch it in, what are those desires in those 6 major areas? Your relationship with God, your health, your mind, your intellect, your family, friends, and finances. And begin to take some time to decide that 1, you can dream, and 2, your dream is worth actually acknowledging and doing work to get to. And let me tell you, doing that work, I was able to write this book. And honestly, this wasn't even the main book that's in my heart to do, right? This is something, and I feel like even God was working on me in building out this book, because now I'm like, oh, all them other books, like I even have like half manuscripts already written for some things that I've kind of like waited for and was afraid to go forth in, because I was afraid to truly acknowledge that ultimate dream. But now that I got this thing out here, this one right here, oh, y'all, I know I can do it. It is going to get done. So I encourage you to do the same, to truly acknowledge your dreams. Acknowledge, 1, that you're worth the dreams that you have in your heart. And that 2, you can truly dream and write those things out. Make them plain like the Bible talks about in Habakkuk, to write it down and make it plain so that others can run with it. Because the main thing is that those dreams that are on your heart are not just for you. They are for the people that they're going that are going to they are for the people that their lives you're going to transform when you truly acknowledge your dreams. And honestly, that is the whole point to intentional living. Yes, it's to make sure that you're living a life that is more full of peace, more full of joy, more full of the things that you desire to do. But ultimately, I want to get you aligned with what God has in store for you. Because when you do, then there's going to be tons of other people behind you who are going to get to do and see all the great things that God has in store for them. So honestly, it's kind of me being a little selfish. I want to see you excel so that others can excel. Well, maybe that's not selfish. That's not selfish, is it? Bottom line, I got ulterior motives. I know that when you are in alignment with what God has called you to do, then there's going to be even more people that can get into alignment with God, what God has called them to do, and this world can be a better place. So I encourage you today to acknowledge your dreams, acknowledge what God has in store for you, and take a moment to write them down. To recap everything: 1, you are worth dreaming. You can dream. You can dream. You may have a million things that you do, or you like to be in the background. That's one thing that I always used to say. Or I do for others. No, you have a specific dream. You can dream. And then your dream is worth it. Your dream is worth taking the time to write it out, to make it plain so that others can run with it. And once you acknowledge those two things, get in there and start writing it out. The awesome framework that you can work with is that life principle framework. Go through those 6 areas. Write down the ultimate dream. What would life be like if you had the perfect relationship with your body? What would life be like if you had the perfect relationship with your mind, your intellect, your family, your friends, your finances? What would life be like? Start dreaming. Think about that. And then come back next week so we can talk about how you use that. So guys, I hope that this was awesome for you. If this is something that really helped you out, go ahead and like this video. And if you want to come back for more and find out exactly when it comes, definitely check out that subscribe button and go ahead and subscribe. There's new videos every single Thursday, and I will be back next week talking about the next part or the next step in the stairwell to intentional living. All right, so hopefully I'll see you guys next week. Make sure that you subscribe. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. Subscribe so that I know it's real. All right. Anyway guys, have an awesome week.